story, but all the names except Pandit Ravi Shankar's and Ustad Allah Rakha's have been changed. In a small apartment in Bombay, a girl of about 16 looked up from the newspaper and said excitedly, "Pandit Ravi Shankar's playing tomorrow at the Shan Mukhananda auditorium." "Shh, shh," said her mother, pointing to the figure sleeping at the bed. "You'll wake him up. You know he needs all the sleep and rest he can get." But the boy on the bed was not asleep. "Pandit Ravi Shankar," he said. "Pandit Ravi Shankar, the sitar maestro." He raised himself up on his elbows for 1 second, then fell back. Maestro means music director. But his eyes were shining. "We mustn't miss the chance," he said. I've always wanted to hear him and see him." "Lie down, son, lie down." His mother sprang to his side. Sprang means jumped or appeared. He actually raised himself up without help. She murmured with a catch in her throat, and her eyes turned to the idols on a corner shelf. The prayer which she uttered endlessly came unbidden to her lips. Murmured means quietly spoken words. Catch in throat, a short pause while speaking when you're just about to cry. Uttered means produced. Unbidden means spontaneous. "I must hear him and see him," the boy repeated. "It's the chance of a lifetime." Then he began to cough and gasp for breath, and had to be given oxygen from the cylinder that stood under the bed. But his large eyes were fixed on his sister. Smitha bit her lip in self-reproach. She had been so excited at seeing the announcement that she had not remembered that her brother was very ill. Self-reproach means blame oneself. She had seen how the doctors had shaken their heads gravely and spoken words that neither she nor even her parents could understand. But somewhere deep inside Smitha had known the frightening truth, that Anant was going to die. The word cancer had hung in the air. Her brother was dying of cancer, even though she pretended that all would be well and they would return together, a small family of 4, to their home in Gaganpur. Hung means swing. Pretended means make as if. And he was only 15 and the best table tennis player in the school and the fastest runner. He was learning to play the sitar. They were both taking sitar lessons, but Anant was better than her, as in many other things. He was already able to compose his own tunes to the astonishment of their guru. Then cancer had struck, and they had come to Bombay so that he could be treated at the cancer hospital in the city. Compose means formulate. Astonishment means surprise. Whenever they came to Bombay, they stayed with Aunt Sushila. Her apartment was not big, but there was always room for them. They had come with high hopes in the miracles of modern science. They told themselves that Anant would be cured at the hospital and he would again walk and run and even take part in the forthcoming table tennis tournament. Forthcoming means upcoming. And he would play the sitar, perhaps be a great sitarist one day. But his condition grew worse with each passing day, and the doctors at the cancer hospital said, "Take him home. Give him the thing he likes. Indulge him." And they knew then that the boy had not many days to live. Indulge means to allow to enjoy the pleasure of something. But they did not voice their fears. They laughed and smiled and talked and surrounded Anant with whatever made him happy. They fulfilled his every need and gave him whatever he asked for. And now he was asking to go to the concert. The chance of a lifetime, he was saying. When you are better, his mother said. This is not the last time they are going to play. Smitha stood at the window, looking at the traffic, her eyes wet with tears. Her mother whispered, "But you, Smitha, you must go. Your father will take you." Whispered means spoke slowly. When she was alone with Aunt Sushila, Smitha cried out in a choked voice, "No, how can I? We've always done things together, Anant and I." "A walk in the park might make you feel better," said Aunt Sushila, and Smitha was grateful for her suggestion. Choked voice means crying and blocked voice. In the park, people were walking, running, playing ball, doing yogic exercises, feeding the ducks, and eating roasted gram and peanuts. Smitha felt alone in their midst. She was lost in her thoughts. Midst means middle of. Suddenly, a daring thought came to her, and as she hurried home, she said to herself, "Why not? There's no harm in trying it. It would be nice to go to the concert. I don't know when we'll get another opportunity to hear Pandit Ravi Shankar," she said to her mother later. And her father agreed to get the tickets. The next day, as Smitha and her father were leaving for the concert, her brother smiled and said, "Enjoy yourself." Though the words came out in painful gasps, "Lucky you." Gasps means choked, crying voice. Sitting beside her father in the gallery, Smitha heard, as in a dream, the thundering welcome the audience gave the great master. Thundering welcome means loud welcome. Then the first notes came over the air, and Smitha felt as if the gates of a land of enchantment and wonder were opening. Enchantment means magic. Spellbound, she listened to the unfolding ragas, the slow, plaintive notes, the fast, twinkling ones. But all the while, the plan she had decided on the evening before remained firmly in her mind. Spellbound means fascinated. Plaintive means sad. The chance of a lifetime. She heard Anant's voice in every beat of the tabla. The concert came to an end. The audience gave the artists a standing ovation. A large, mustachioed, having a long moustache man made a long, boring speech. Mustachioed means having a large moustache. Then came the presentation of bouquets, then more applause, and the curtain came down. The people began to move towards the exits. Now was the time. Smitha wriggled her way through the crowds towards the stage. Wriggled means gave jerk. Then she went up the steps that led to the wings, her heart beating loudly. In the wings, a small crowd had gathered to talk about the evening concert, to help carry bouquets and teacups and instruments. He was there, standing with the man who played the tabla for him, the great wizard of music, Ustad Allah Rakha. Her knees felt weak, her tongue dry. But she went up and standing before them, her hands folded. "Oh, sir," she burst out. Wizard means wonderful. Burst out means to speak explosively. "Yes?" he asked questioningly but kindly. And her story came pouring out. the story of a brother who lay sick at home and of how he longed to hear him and the Ustad play. Questioningly means wonderingly. Pouring out means speaking out. Will you come to Aunt Sushila's house and play for him? She asked at the end breathlessly. Please, she begged, please come. Little girl, said the mustachioed man who had made the long speech. Panditji is a busy man. You must not bother him with such requests. But Pandit Ravi Shankar smiled and motioned him to be quiet. He turned to Ustad Sahib and said, What shall we do, Ustad Sahib? The Ustad moved the wad of pan from one cheek to another. Motioned him means the action of moving. Wad of pan means stuffing of pan in the mouth. Tomorrow morning we perform for the boy? Yes, he said. Yes, Panditji replied. It's settled then. It was a very excited Smitha who came home late that night. Anant was awake, breathing the oxygen from the cylinder. Did you hear him? He whispered. I did, she replied, and I spoke to him, and he'll come tomorrow morning with the tabla Ustad, and they'll play for you. And the following morning, Aunt Sushila's neighbors saw two men get out of the taxi, which pulled up outside their block. They could not believe their eyes. Is it? It's not possible, they said. Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Allah Rakha went up the wooden staircase and knocked softly. They went in, sat down on the divan by the window and played for the boy, surrounding him with a great and beautiful happiness as life went out of him, gently, very gently. By Shanta Rao.